Hey friends, it is Chelsea, aka With Love Chels, and I am coming to you live from my daughter's bedroom with my newest baby Leo. I think the last time I was on here, I was announcing his birth, and now here we are talking about his birth story. So many questions on what it's like giving birth during COVID and all that fun stuff. So let me spill the beans. Close notes version of my pregnancy. Everything was great. Everything was smooth. I was due on November 2nd, which was a Tuesday. So the Friday before, I had my weekly OB appointment. And when I went to go get checked, I was 2 centimeters dilated, which is fairly common towards the end. And the doctor was fairly certain, especially since this was my 4th child, that I was going to have a baby over the weekend. So she was like, you know what? You're coming here. We don't even need to schedule an induction or schedule another appointment. You're having your baby this weekend. So I was so excited. And I was like, okay, well, do I book another appointment just in case? And she's like, nah, you can, but you're having the baby soon. I was so excited. So I went to the reception and I was like, she thinks I'm gonna have a baby this weekend, but let's just book an appointment just in case. She's like, okay, just book it for next Friday, which was another week. I was due on the Tuesday, so 3 days past my due date? And I was like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. Was certain that I was gonna have the baby. Did not have the baby over the weekend. The Sunday was Halloween, so I was kind of thankful for that. I danced, I bounced on a ball, I did all of the things you are supposed to do to naturally induce labor. And on the Monday morning, my mucus plug broke. So I was like, this is awesome, great. I should be having a baby soon. I felt super crampy all day. When my husband came home that evening and he was working far from work, I was like, yeah, babe, I think we should go into the hospital. No, I feel weird. I knew I wasn't in active labor, but I was just very crampy and uncomfortable. And I was like, should I just go in and get checked? And he's like, you know what? Let's have a good night's sleep. We'll go in tomorrow morning. Maybe they'll induce you. Maybe they won't. We have 3 other kids that we need to worry about. Let's have a good night's sleep. We'll drop them off at my mom's house in the morning, and then we'll go to the hospital. And I was like, okay. And to be totally honest, I was so nervous about going into the hospital. One, with the possibility of getting induced, because with my 3 other births, I had never been induced. And I've always gone into labor naturally. And in my mind, that's how it should have gone. So I felt almost guilty that I was going in and like trying to do something when my body wasn't ready. Anyways, my own crazy thoughts. So the next morning, we dropped off the kids, made our way over to the hospital, got to the Credit Valley. So when we got to triage, I was the only person allowed to go in. My husband had to wait in the car until I was actually admitted. So I went in, they checked me. I was still about 2 to 3 centimeters dilated. I was not in active labor. And the OB came in and he's like, listen, hospital's dead. It's your due date. You know, you're uncomfortable. You are somewhat dilated. It's up to you. You can either go home or we can have a baby today. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, well, I'm already here. Like, let's have the baby today. And so they're like, okay, great. We'll induce you, sign the paperwork, blah, 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 and we'll get you in your room right away. And I was like, oh my God, okay, crazy. So I had to get tested for COVID. It was my first time getting a test. It was super uncomfortable, but whatever. My husband did not have to get tested, and neither did my mom. No one had to be vaccinated. They had asked me if I was vaccinated. They didn't ask my husband or my mom. So within 20 minutes, I was then admitted into my room. So I was admitted into the room at around 10:30 a.m. And the doctor's like, okay, or the nurse, sorry, was like, okay, we're gonna start the drip on you. And I was like, okay, can we make sure that we align the anesthesiologist, because I had heard that if you get induced, labor and contractions are so much worse. So she's like, yeah, no problem, we'll kind of line them up so that you get induced, and anesthesiologist is here. So anesthesiologist ended up coming in, and I was super nervous for the epidural. I think more so because in the past, when I had gotten the epidural, I was in so much pain that I was like, I don't care what happens, just let's do this. Let's get this pain over and done with. And this time around, I wasn't in any pain. So I was like, oh my God, what am I doing to my body? Like, I was nervous. But on the same token, it's like, okay, I've done this before, whatever. Epidural was interesting. It took longer than it usually does. He was trying to find like the right hole in my back. And so he just kept tapping on it, and he's like, I can't find it. Anyway, so I was super nervous, clearly, because you can't move. So I was just literally praying to God that he could find it and that I would be okay. And then as soon as I got the epidural, I felt so strange. Like I felt extremely drugged and like mushy. Like I just laid there and I was like, I feel so weird. So I even asked the nurse, I was like, is my blood pressure okay? Like I feel like I'm gonna faint, or like I can't move. Like I'm just laying there and I'm like, this feels weird. She's like, yeah, your blood pressure's a little bit low, but it's probably just like the epidural, whatever, making its way through your body. And I'm like, okay, this is weird, but whatever. So that like weird mushy like faintness eventually subsided, thank goodness, because that was not fun and that was kind of giving me anxiety. It was making me nervous. And so then as we're sitting there, they broke my water, and when they broke my water, they had noticed that there was meconium in the water, so the baby had pooed. And immediately I was like, you know what, I've read this before, like this is very dangerous. And so I said it, I was like, isn't that dangerous, like isn't that bad? And she's like, well, it's not necessarily bad, it just means that, you know, we need a whole team in when you give birth, and a pediatrician needs to be there and all that stuff. So then I started to like semi-panic, and I'm like, but that's a bad thing. Like, is he gonna be okay? Like, is he okay? And she's like, he's fine, don't worry, like whatever, he's fine. So I was like, no, but I swear this is really bad. Anyway, so again, my own nerves, the nurse kept reassuring me, and my own nerves were just like skyrocketed. I can't remember if I mentioned we got admitted at 10:30 a.m. And so then over the next few hours, they were giving me the Pitocin, and they noticed that the baby's heart rate would slowly drop. And so she kept an eye on it, and she's like, I don't know if he's really liking the Pitocin too much. Again, I'm now like worrying and like, what does that mean? Like, is he okay? Is he gonna be okay? Like, let's kind of get the show on the road. Like, let's do what we gotta do. Let's get this baby out. I just want him here and safe. And she's like, it's fine, we just need to monitor him. So there was 2 times where they put me on like a peanut ball. So I had to lay on my side, and they put a peanut ball in between my legs. And that's just to help the baby like move down into your canal into the right position. And if his heart rate's going low, it just like kind of switches up position kind of thing. So the entire time I just sat there staring at the machine, and just, I didn't even want my mom or Steve to talk, because I just wanted to focus on his heart rate, because I was super nervous. So there was no relaxing. And again, everyone kept reassuring me that he was okay, that I was okay, but my own nerves, it's never okay until he's actually there in your arms. And so then every time they kept checking me, which was like pretty much every 45 minutes to an hour, I'd only progressed like an extra centimeter. So next time she checked me, she's like, okay, you're like 4, maybe 5 centimeters. You're 5, maybe 6. And I was like, oh my God, this is just, it was like torture. It felt like torture, because you're just sitting there waiting. The good thing is I wasn't completely numb. So I could move one of my legs. I could feel the contractions. There wasn't any pain. And I like that. I don't like to be completely numb. I kind of like to feel what's going on with my body, especially when the contractions are coming, especially when it comes to pushing. Like, it was nice to know when they were coming, so that I also knew when to push. So she asked if I wanted to increase the epidural, which I didn't, because I was already like, hell no, I didn't like the way that was making me feel. Plus, I don't want to be completely numb. And so then they kept checking me again. Baby's heart rate kept going down, kept going up. Nurse had said if that continued to happen, they would have to lower the Pitocin. So in my mind now, I'm spiraling, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to have an emergency C-section. Like, just in case he's not okay, I'm having an emergency C-section. I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for that, which I can't, because now I'm like sick to my stomach, and I'm like, I just want this baby here. So she ended up checking me again closer to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was 8 centimeters, maybe 7, 8. She's like, okay, it's coming, you're so close. My nurse was amazing. She was so lovely. And so again, went on the peanut ball, and she checked me. She's like, okay, we'll check you again in another 45 minutes. Checked me again, and I was 9 centimeters. And she's like, okay, let's start getting ready for labor. And I was like, oh my God, this is so fun, so exciting. Like I love giving birth, especially since they've all kind of followed suit. So it's super exciting. It's like, yay, he finally gets to come here and I get to push him out. It's so exhilarating. Probably also because I'm not in pain. So then I was 9.5 centimeters, maybe 10 minutes later. And I was like, is there anything, can we just start pushing? Like, is there anything we need to do? Like, do we need to wait until I'm a full 10. And she's like, well, technically not. Like, you can do a few like trial pushes and we can see if we can just like tear the rest of your cervix. And then, you know, baby will be ready. And I was like, yeah, let's just do that. Let's like get this show on the road. So we literally, I think we did like 2 or 3 trial pushes. She's like, okay, push. Doctor wasn't even there yet. After that, she's like, okay, you're a full 10, stop. Doctor came in, pediatrician came in, and I want to say maybe 2 pushes later, baby Leo was born. And he cried and he screamed, which was all a good sign. So with the meconium, none of that. I forget what they had to do. I think they had to. I can't even remember the word. I can't remember anything. My brain's like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo. But yeah, so he was all good. The pediatrician was pretty much like, no, I'm just here to congratulate you because he's totally fine, which was music to my ears. He was 8 pounds, 3 ounces, my biggest baby yet. All the other kids, like Brayden was 6 pounds, 15 ounces. Braden was 6'12". Ava was 6'15". Lily was 7'4". He was much bigger, and he is such a delicious little boy. But overall, the experience at the hospital was lovely. Did I have to wear a mask? Yes, technically, but nobody ever asked me to wear it when I was in my room. I put it on when the anesthesiologist came. I think I would sometimes put it on when the nurse came in, and then I would forget. And then when it came towards the end, I just took it off. I was like, I don't even want a mask under my chin. Like, I've tested, I'm negative. I don't have COVID, and I can't breathe, and I'm about to push a baby out of my hoo-ha. So I ain't wearing a mask, and I'm not wearing it around my chin, so that like my first like pictures and first like image of my baby looking at me is with a mask. Not that he'll remember, but I would, you know. So no, and nobody was ever a stickler on that. I did have after we were in the labor and delivery, then you go into like the mom and baby unit. And I think 1 or 2 nurses had asked that Steve and I, my husband, had put our masks on when she came in. But aside from that, everyone was pretty chill. It was just lovely. We Uber Eats food, and there was no visitors, and the kids couldn't come. But again, it was nice. It was nice to just have those 24 hours with Steve and I and with Leo. And the nurses were wonderful, and everything was great. I didn't tear. So my vajay felt fine. It was my stomach and my back. Like, I literally felt like somebody beat the living crap out of me, like kicked me 100 times in my stomach and in my back. So I really needed the Advil at the hospital for that pain. So that kind of didn't make me nervous. Clearly, I'm a very anxious person. Didn't make me nervous, but I kept telling the nurse, like, it's so strange. Like, I feel fine down there. Meanwhile, I just pushed baby out, but my stomach is killing me. Like, I'm very sore, and the post-uterine contractions suck ass. Like, those took my breath away. That literally feels like contractions all over again. I was bracing for impact every time the baby would nurse, because that's usually when it came on. So I'm like holding on to a bed, and it's like, literally as if I was giving birth. That's how painful they were. But within, I want to say maybe 3-4 days max, it was done. He nursed no problem right away. God bless, thank goodness. I don't ever want to put him down or leave him or anything. He's just such, look, he literally looks like he's 3 months. He's only a month old. 6 weeks actually. So anyways, that is my birth story. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I know you guys were super curious about what it was like to give birth at the hospital in the midst of COVID, and it was a lovely experience. I wouldn't have changed one thing. As always, like and subscribe. I promise I'm not having any more babies, but hopefully I can get out some really fun fashion content and mom content and all of the things when I have any time. As always, peace and love, my friends.